got that from Costco, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Next topic. Let me share this video. This was going pretty um viral. It was on World Star. It's been shared around Instagram and such. So here's the clip.
It's crazy.
You don't need a Batman.
I actually had a woman. Tell me. She says, literally, she says, I got a good job. I make very, very good money, and she says the only thing I need now is a man. It's like, yo, like, it's like, who wants you? Who wants you? You're right. Like, once you have achieved these things, you have unfortunately disqualified yourself.
Ooh, and shit.
And what it is these, and this is the thing.
Did you guys see this clip?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Isha, I like that look you got on your face. You seem like you don't like too much of what he was saying.
Honestly, I think I don't like it, but it's pretty accurate. I've been in workplaces with some pretty like intelligent women, doctorates, doing their thing, but single, and I'm like, what's wrong with them? But it happens. Women who reach a certain status, it's hard for them to find a partner.
So do you think a woman become less attractive, like when she becomes that successful, like uberly successful, like you said, high earning, right? Maybe high up. Is she less attractive to men at that point?
I don't think she's less attractive. I think the available men that she might want to date is just not. They're just not. The availability is just not there.
What do you mean?
How many men? When a man has a degree and a job, he's hot commodity. So how many women are seeking that man? He has a plethora of women that want him. He has a lot of options. So his options compared to her options.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying though, if so her options are less, but wouldn't her money, her success make her more attractive?
Men don't care about that.
Thank you.
So does she become less attractive because of these things?
I don't think she becomes less attractive. I just think that men do not care about that.
Okay. So why are successful women not the option?
Because men have plenty of options. I think there's more successful women than there are successful men.
Huh?
I think that I think there's a lot more successful women than there are successful men.
That's so. What make you say that? What fact do you have to? Why?
So why else would she have less options than him?
Because that successful man isn't looking for that type of woman. Yeah. And I don't knock women who
I don't think
get their doctors and they become super successful and all of that, but I think that they've practiced a habit to be the best, to be exceptional for so long that they are unwilling to deal with a lot of standards that, women who are less successful are. So they outprice themselves on the market. They outprice themselves.
I think I agree with the comment that Ashley made in the chat. I think the more successful a woman is, I don't think they physically become any less attractive. I think they become more intimidating to a man because especially if a man isn't on that stature, if he's not on that status, it's then for him to don't try it, don't start.
Intimidating?
But to Isha's point when she said, when you have a man who is educated and who's deemed successful, the floodgates open for him, just kind of like with rich men as well. But with women, that's not the case because for me personally, I feel like it's an intimidation factor, and I think the pool gets smaller for women the more successful you become.
So can I ask this real quick? I'm sorry. I know this might be off topic a little bit, but I've heard this argument before. What does it mean for a man to be intimidated by a successful woman? What does that mean?
Yeah, same topic. Like what makes you guys think it's intimidation?
A woman may make more money than the man, and
what is intimidating though?
a woman who is more successful than you.
Not being able to match or be able to satisfy her. I've known men say like, oh, she has all of these things going on. I don't know I don't know that I could level up. So it's not, I think that you guys might be having a hard time understanding because you're not insecure. But there's a lot of men that are insecure and not comfortable with themselves, to where when they get around these women, they can no longer just stand on their wallets. They have to actually have character and personality. And so the things that they usually use to attract women no longer attract this woman. And so that's when the insecurity comes in. And that's where, the intimidation factor comes in. It might be puzzling to the two of you or to the panel if you're secure with yourself, because that's not who you are. You might feel comfortable in any room in front of any woman. And that's different than the men that we're talking about.
She's got her own.
Okay.
Right.
But
what about the men who are like not insecure then? So why aren't they still choosing those types of women with the jobs and stuff? Because they're not picking them either.
Right.
Yeah.
Because with what Adrian and Slim said, all the men I know, and I've had several conversations with them, I know them on a pretty good level, just don't care about a woman's money or their education. Like, you have a master's, you have money, you got houses, you got cars. The men I know, including myself, we just don't give a shit. You have it, cool. We're not knocking that. I'm not knocking that at all. Have a house, car, and education, but the men I know, we just don't give a shit.
And you got to think too, a lot of the men that are top tier are successful.
Hold on. I want you, and Poop, you could go, but I want you to answer Adrian's question, if you don't mind, though.
I didn't hear his question.
What? Yeah. Hey, what did you ask? Sorry.
How they were talking about the guys who are intimidated by them, why they won't approach them. But then there's men who are not intimidated by it. So why aren't they approaching them type of women as well, if it's not intimidation?
But the women, there's not. So you're saying none of these women are being approached or getting everything?
No. I'm not saying they're not being approached, but their options are slim from pretty much two types of men. You got the ones who are not pursuing them because of they're insecure, but then it's the other type that are not insecure, but they're not pursuing that type of woman in high numbers as well either. So why is that the case for them? Because you guys use intimidation. So what's the other reason?
So I don't think that it's so I think in your case where you're saying, well, the men that aren't insecure, that are secure with themselves, why are they not approaching these women? Some of the women just come off a little too hard, I think. Right? They just come off a little too hard to where it's like, okay, I get that you have all of this and I get it, but then you also have to be able to just allow a man to lead.
Or be a man, yeah.
Let a man be a man. And so I think in some cases, women who have who are constantly in leadership roles have a hard time changing their hat. Right? Like, I'm in leadership all the time outside of my house, but I know that once I walk through the door, I no longer want to do that. I make a conscious decision to do that, but a lot of people have a hard time taking that leadership role or that hat off. And so I think that's where they butt heads, where they're like, okay, well, now I can't find a mate. You don't want a mate. You over there picking up the check. I know I got the money. I'm not picking up the check.
Yeah. I think this comment is probably the main thing. Like, it's not intimidation. Like, because when you have successful men also not marrying those women, it has to be more than that. But sometimes Elaine Robinson says sometimes women in power positions develop masculine traits which make them less attractive to men. I think that's the truth of the matter.
I agree with that.
One part of the clip, he was saying, he's like, he was talking to this woman who was successful, and she was like, I got my degree, I got my job, now all I need is a man. Like, we hear that, it's like,
put him in the fucking bedroom.
That's ass backwards. Because where's your...
But that goes back to our conversation that we had several times ago about why women feel that they have to go ahead and be educated and get the jobs so that in any event of that they're going to be okay. That goes back to that conversation that we constantly have to have, why women make sure that they secure the bag on their own.
Absolutely.
But is the education the key to that? Like, I mean, you get the education.
Whether it's education or not. whether it's education or not, but we know as Black women, or I know as a Black woman, that I have to be just as more educated than the white woman or than the man coming in there just to be invited into the room, into the space. It's harder for me as a Black woman in the workspace.
What's the
so
nature?
Black. Go ahead.
I just want to ask Sean, what's the nature of a man? Like you guys saying you got to do this just in case so that you don't be out to dry if shit hits the fan. What do you guys think men's nature is? Where
It
you
is
get
to
this notion?
provide, but how many men are walking in their nature as providers and protectors?
Yeah. And women, because you could get the rug pulled from underneath you at any point in time.
At any
if this
time.
relationship doesn't work, where am I going to live? How am I going to support myself if I was only depending on a man to do that?
But so a man's nature, you said, is to provide, protect. It's the what he holds dear to keep close and make sure that thing is okay. That's the nature of men. But what you saying?
But to
we're
the
not
point
doing
that
this?
we just, again, going back to the conversation that we have all the time about the family structure not being what it is, being raised in, single parent households where the woman and not having the balance of the man. We are a generation of people, of individuals who, a lot of the men that were brought up, they were brought up by single mothers and they did not have that male figure. So with that, there's that piece of compensating. And as women, we have been taught, as Black women specifically, make sure you get your job, make sure you get your this so that you can take care of yourself so that you don't have to depend on any man. Unfortunately, like that's just been it's a cycle.
Well, not only that, like we don't only have to talk about it in a trauma standpoint. Like your husband could get sick. My husband gets hit by a bus tomorrow and loses his ability to earn money. We can't live off of his disability at the same rate that we were when he was working and earning. So if I don't have any skill and I can't get out there and make money to help support my family, I need to have a skill. I need to be able to have a way to be able to make money just in case. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to leave me or abandon me or not take care of the family, but something can happen. You could be gone tomorrow and even the life insurance runs out. How am I going to be able to sustain my life? I need to have a skill.
There are plenty of variables that go into it now. I mean, even if you think of the progression of women in the workforce, the jobs, there's more jobs now for women than there were 30 years ago, right? So women now, if they want to be successful, women have to chase that education and to a more extensive pace than a man would. Like I might not necessarily need I might not need to go to grad school or get my doctorate to make the same amount of money as a woman would, who has to have those accomplishments in the same way. So I don't have to work as hard. So I'm not looking for the same thing. And then along the way, as a woman is chasing degree after degree or career oriented lifestyle, they're not really willing to grow with a man in that space, because they got the carrot in front of them and they're chasing the carrot. So everything else is a byproduct of that. And then when they get to a certain age, like the guy was describing in the video, they get to a certain age, like, okay, now I have this. Now I want this. I want the family, the kids, the man. When they've kind of eliminated themselves in competition from other women who haven't pursued that dream.
Look at this, right? Look at this. This might be risky, but I would say Black women are not taught to be wives. We are taught to survive. We need it just in case.
That's the truth.
I believe it.
That's the sad truth. And then I guess.
Peace, y'all.